But one of the arguments I make in this book, I hope persuasively, is that there are times and occasions where we have to talk about cultures in that way. Because cultures play such an important role in how we behave and how we think and how we go about doing our jobs, that if we want to make people better at those kinds of things, we have to be willing and honest enough to confront our cultural legacies and say, this is an area where my culture does not do a good job, and this is an area where my culture does do a good job. Right?
He very seriously asks questions like, why are people from Asian countries better at math? And why are people from the American South more prone to violence, and yet their overall crime rates show that violence among strangers is not nearly at the level as violence among people who know each other. Good or bad, these are not innate characteristics. They are legacies of the cultures that we are born into, and they heavily influence the way that we think and behave in the world.
In last part, we simplified the opportunity part. In that part, we discussed about Matthew effect, 10,000 hour rule, trouble with the geniuses. Let us start simplifying part 2, that is legacy. In this part, we will discuss about reason behind Korean plane crashes, reason for Asian students working harder than others, reason for KIPP's school success.
60 seconds. Okay. So, what is the one thing people need to know about how cultural differences cause planes to crash?
Well, people need to understand that the most important aspect in the safety of a plane is not the plane itself. It's not the hardware. It's the pilots. And in particular, it's how the pilots communicate. And if they can communicate openly and honestly and clearly, they can minimize their chances of crashing. And their ability to communicate in that way is a function of their culture. The cultures where a subordinate has difficulty speaking up to their boss have more plane crashes because they can't share information in the cockpit the way they should. And cultures where there is where bosses and subordinates are on the same level have fewer plane crashes because it's easy for them to share information in that way.
Gladwell claims Chinese and other Asian languages have a logical number language. The number language is not irregular as it is in English, but rather a logical system of tens and ones, so there is a cultural expectation to easily grasp the concept of higher numbers at an earlier age.
Now what they found out was that students of the English language could remember about 50% of them, or they could remember the entire sequence about half of the time. However, Chinese students could remember it almost every single time. And this is because to say the numbers 4, 8, 5, 3, 9, 7, 6, to sub-vocalize them in our throats, there are more syllables and you cannot say these numbers as quickly as you could in Chinese.
It's an idea that says that when you put forth effort, you get reward. When you throw your heart and mind and soul into something, you get something back. Now in my book, I call that notion, that belief, that effort brings reward, meaningful work.
So what I want to talk about today is the idea of meaningful work as presented in the book called The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. So if you have a meaningful work, put in the effort, sell your soul to your craft, sell your time, just sell your whole body to it. Just make sure that you're fully immersed in your idea.
This is one of the most applicable parts of the book because you can work really hard, but you can never manufacture the kind of unique experiences required to be an outlier, but you can look closely at the legacies you have inherited.
Summer vacation had not been at the center of any debates, but Gladwell argues that should be. High-performing and low-performing schools record the same or very similar levels of improvement over the course of school years. But during the summer, low-income school children lose ground and middle-class children do not. Their family cannot provide them an engaging summer vacation. No one encourages them to keep reading or play educational games. Summer vacation is a huge disadvantage for them. KIPP, Knowledge is Power program schools, solve that problem by having a long school day. This allows for longer classes. Teachers don't have to rush. And as a result, students don't feel pressure to be first or fastest. Thus, by increasing the number of hours, KIPP gave the children from poor families an opportunity to change the future.